Hello everyone. Today we're gonna be looking at 5 different kind of drinks. The Polar, the Sprite, the Gatorade, the Sparkling Ice, and the Dr. Pepper. Today's main question is going to be determining which of these 5 kind of drinks is the most acidic. One strategy we're gonna be using today is titration using NaOH, which is our added base. We're going to be determining the acidity of the solutions based on the drops of NaOH added until the end point of the titration is reached. Another strategy we're going to be using is litmus paper, which is pH paper. pH of the solution, acid or base, is determined based on the color of the litmus paper after several drops of the liquid is added to the paper. The litmus paper is only going to be used for Dr. Pepper because it has a very dark color. And this is phenolphthalein. This is a colorless solution that's going to be added to Polar, Sprite, Gatorade, and Sparkling Ice. This solution is going to help us see the change in color as NaOH is added to the solutions. Rishitha is going to proceed with the first titration, the titration of Sprite. I'm going to hand her a graduated cylinder that she's going to use to measure an exact 10 milliliter of Sprite from a pre-filled beaker. Rishitha is going to measure now 10 milliliters of the Sprite. It is very important that she measures an exact 10 milliliter so that we have accurate volumes throughout all of the solutions. Now, I'm going to hand Rishitha an Erlenmeyer flask that she's going to put the Sprite in and start the titration. After that all the Sprite is placed in the Erlenmeyer flask, now Rishitha is going to add a couple drops of phenolphthalein to the solution. Again, the phenolphthalein is going to help us see the change in color as NaOH is added to the Sprite. Now after that Rishitha mixed the solution, she's going to put it under the pre-filled NaOH graduated pipette. It's very important to open the pipette slowly so that we can have exact drops of NaOH into the solution. As you can see, NaOH makes the solution change its color to a very dark purple. It took around 8 drops of NaOH to neutralize the Sprite solution. Unfortunately, the solution in the video was over-titrated, so we added too many drops of NaOH, but usually it takes around 8 drops to neutralize Sprite. Now we're going to move on with the titration of Polar. Varshitha is going to be the one preceding the titration. She will be measuring out exactly 10 milliliter of Polar as done before. Now I'm going to hand her an Erlenmeyer flask that she's going to put the drink in. Now that the solution is in the flask, Varshitha is going to add a couple of drops of phenolphthalein. Always remember to take off the cap. Varshitha forgot, so yeah. Now that Varshitha added the phenolphthalein to the solution, she's going to start with the drops of NaOH. She's going to open the ring of the pipette so the NaOH can get out of the pipette. As you can see, NaOH added to the Polar drink changed its color to a very dark purple. Now Varshitha is going to keep going with the NaOH drops until the endpoint is reached. The endpoint is the appearance of a very light pink color in the solution. As you can see, this is a perfect titration. The last drop of NaOH took around 20 seconds to dissolve, meaning that the endpoint was reached. A very light color was formed, and then after mixing it, it dissolved slowly and turned back to clear. Indeed, it took around 7 drops of NaOH to neutralize the polar, meaning that it's less acidic than Sprite. Now we're going to start with the titration of sparkling water. Pranshu is going to be proceeding this titration. As you can see, he is measuring out exactly 10 milliliters of sparkling water. Now I'm going to hand Pranshu an heirloom flask so that he can put the sparkling water inside. Now Pranshu is going to add exactly 2 drops of phenolphthalein. Always remember to like and subscribe to watch our newest videos about chemistry, labs, and science. Now, moving back to the video. After adding the drops of phenolphthalein, Pranshu is going to open the ring of the pipette to let NaOH out of the pipette. Remember to always be careful with the opening so that you don't get much of NaOH in the solution. It took the solution around 15 drops of NaOH to neutralize. This shows so far that sparkling water is the most acidic out of all. Because it took so many drops of NaOH to neutralize, this shows that it's the most acidic out of Sprite and Polar. This is an over-titrated solution because it has a very dark purple color. Even though it's getting lighter, it is still over-titrated because it's supposed to go back to clear. Now remember that we're using 0.5 molar of NaOH, so we might be off by a couple drops, or we might even add more drops to neutralize. Now both Bella and Nina are going to perform the titration for Gatorade Lemon. I'm going to hand them the graduated cylinder, and they are going to measure out exactly 10 milliliter of the Gatorade. Now that 10 milliliter is measured, Bella is going to put the Gatorade in a flask and she's going to proceed with the titration. Before putting the flask under the pipette, Bella is supposed to add a couple of drops of phenolphthalein as the indicator. Now, both Bella and Nina are going to start adding the NaOH to the Gatorade. As you can see, NaOH is making the Gatorade changing color very fast. Gatorade is the most acidic drink out of all. This means that it's supposed to take the most NaOH drops to neutralize. Since Gatorade is the most acidic drink out of all, this means that NaOH is going to dissolve very fast in this drink. As you can see, the solution is over-titrated. But indeed, Nina and Bella did count 16 drops of NaOH before it reaches over-titration, so it took around 16 drops of NaOH to neutralize Gatorade, meaning that it's the most acidic out of all. Dr. Pepper is the only drink that we cannot use to compare against these soft drinks because it has a very dark color. Indeed, Dr. Pepper is the most acidic, but we're going to use litmus paper to prove that. Now we're going to move on with measuring the acidity of Dr. Pepper using litmus paper. I am going to be doing this procedure. It is very hard to see the pH scale on the container, so that is a universal pH scale. Now I'll take 1 litmus paper out of the packet and I'll put it inside the beaker with the Dr. Pepper. I'll wait a second until there is good amount of Dr. Pepper on the paper. I waited a couple of seconds before comparing the paper to the pH scale, and it turned out it's an orange color, which is around the pH of 4. The litmus paper had a little darker color, meaning a lower pH, and so indeed Dr. Pepper had the lowest pH out of all the soft drink and is the most acidic one.
Like and subscribe for more content with your favorite incompetent chemists.